That's it. Start looking at the budget. Camera's working, Deb. All right, everybody ready? All right, I call to order this meeting of the regular city council. Sorry, I misread that a bit. Tonight, February 18th, like 10 below outside. Everybody be safe out there. First item is I'd like everyone to join me in reciting the pledge to our flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Thompson, would you announce our guest?
Every Wednesday morning, there's a group of pastors that gather to pray, not just for the city council, but for the city. And I do not take that for granted, as I'm sure you don't. And Brian Ross is the pastor who has come to pray. We encourage them to reach out from the community to us. And so, Brian, if you would come to the podium, please, and turn that microphone on, and we'll give us your opportunity.
Let's pray. Father, I thank you that we're together tonight, and Lord, especially in the cold, and Lord, you're in charge of the weather, so we're trusting you. And Father, in your word, it says that we're to pray for those in leadership, that we might lead quiet and peaceful lives. And so I pray for these people tonight, Lord. I just thank you that they're here. I pray you'd help us, help them to make good and decisions that please you. And Lord, we're just a town in the middle of the United States, but Lord, we affect all of the United States. And so I pray that you'd help them as they consider the things that are before them tonight. We just thank you in Jesus' name, amen.
Semper Fi.
Thank you, Brian. He's a Marine, as evidenced by our announcement from our city administrator.
All right, item 3 is approval of the agenda. Is anybody willing to make a motion, or do they have an addition or omission from our current agenda?
I would make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
We got a first by Jim, a second by Mark to approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. All right, we have an agenda unanimously. Announcements and praise. Jim, would you be willing to read the announcements and offer some praise to some of our community members?
Thank you. I will. Reminder that coming up Friday the 21st at the library here in this building, if you're not familiar, History at High Noon, and the program is presented by Philip Hall. It's entitled From Wounded Knee to the Gallows, The Life and Trials of Lakota Chief Two Sticks. He was wrongly accused of murdering 4 white cowboys. He was hanged in Deadwood in 1894. They're using government records, newspaper accounts, and unpublished manuscripts to give a clear and candid account of the Oglala's struggle and the events leading up to and the wake of Wounded Knee. That's this Friday at noon. Now, and it's at, I want to say when it starts. It's at noon. History at high noon. Also a reminder, coming up on the 1st, March 1st, is the Legislative Cracker Barrel. Our representatives and senator will be there. It's at the Erskine Building, just up the street, Meade County Erskine Building. 9 o'clock, I believe. Is that the correct time?
I believe 9 o'clock for the Cracker Barrel.
The last time I went, there wasn't much room. So, and by that I mean there's plenty of room to sit. It's just we had a lot of people there. So If you'd like to get there early. It's a good opportunity to meet the legislators. This will be the last one for this session. Also, the date is March 1st, and it's a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. 0900 if you're in the Marine Corps. See if that's all of that needs to be said. John Carley, Terry Jorgensen, Kathy Rice, our senator and representatives will be there. And this is our 100th anniversary of the South Dakota legislative session.
Thank you, Jim. Does any other counselors have anything to add? Announcements or praise? How about members of the public? I have one thing that came to mind. I should have mentioned it to you, Jim. I'm pretty proud that intergovernment cooperation is so strong in our community, and recently our ambulance service was able to teach CPR to 50 of our school district teachers, and so good move by our ambulance staff on that.
I might also mention that Love Inc. of here in Sturgis on the 21st of March is having a, Brian, help me with that. Is that a banquet? Yeah. Okay, thank you for those of you that keep more track than I. It's at 5 o'clock at the community center, and they've asked me to auctioneer. Apparently my chance to be on the council has given me opportunity to speak. So I'll be auctioneering that night, 5 o'clock on the 21st of March.
Are you selling yourself?
Oh, no, not for sale.
All right. Hearing no other announcements or praise, we'll continue on to non-agenda items that may come before council. Does anybody have anything that is not on the agenda that they would like to address the council on? Anybody from the council that has a non-agenda item? All right. The cold is affecting everyone. Department updates. Aaron, I guess our first update is actually Angela, or Amanda, excuse me. Dropping the ball left and right here today.
Must be cold outside.
Get our 24 annual report from SEDC, Sturgis Economic Development Corporation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Amanda Anglin, Executive Director of the Sturgis Economic Development Corporation, here to share with you our 2024 annual report. So the first few pages, as you know, we work throughout Meade County. We work with the city of Sturgis, the city of Somerset, and then also Meade County. So we serve all the communities and the county as a whole. So I try to collect data for each of the communities and the county as well. So that's what you'll see on the first few pages. For Sturgis, I just want to touch on the new business growth. I won't go through all of these details, but in 2024, my report actually has one little error. We had 20 new businesses in 2024, and they were comprised of an auto dealership, retail businesses, trades businesses, a diesel repair shop, a couple businesses in the motorcycle industry. We had a couple in the food service industry as well as hospitality, an auto detailer, an individual in real estate, an individual with website services, a couple of businesses in the health and beauty industry, as well as financial services. We also did see 3 businesses close in 2024, and then we had 4 businesses that what I call expanded or retained. So that means that they were either taken over by a new owner, so we kept them in the community, or they expanded, and there were 4 businesses there. So the new businesses created approximately 40 jobs, and the expanded and retained kept 16 jobs in our community. We also saw 27 new home permits, and our population estimate grew a little bit. The 2020 estimates from the census was 7,020, and the 2023 estimates show up there 7,111. So in Meade County, the population estimate grew there as well. I think it was just over 28,000, and now it's being reported at 30,297. Meade County saw 2 new businesses and 13 expand. So those would be businesses and expansions outside of any municipality within the county. On the county level, they calculate new business a little bit different. So on the expanded retained side, those are like expansions to primarily like campgrounds and then businesses that maybe added another building. So we track that just a little bit differently than in the communities. It's a little tougher to identify. In Somerset, we also serve that community. Their population increased slightly to 2,978. They also saw two new businesses. And for Somerset, their sales tax went up 30% over the prior year. So that's really nice to see that people are shopping locally in that community, and that's increasing for them. In Piedmont, their population is 956. They saw 1 new business. That one's not quite open yet. It started construction last year. And if you're driving down the interstate on the east side, right by Piedmont, it's Sundance Custom Steel. So that is an expansion from a Wyoming company into South Dakota. So we're excited to have them in Meade County. And we should be sharing some information because there's going to be an open house for that business here coming up soon. So we'll invite all of our communities to attend that to welcome them into our area. Their sales tax went up slightly, 2.31%. And when I say sales tax, I mean their taxable sales within the community, not necessarily the taxes that were collected by the municipality, but what was sold in those communities. So in 2024, SEDC as an organization, I'll just touch on some of our projects and initiatives. And one of the big things that happened for us is we expanded our staff. So we grew by 1 person. So we doubled our employee count. And so Brenna's been working with us for nearly a year. And she's part of this is a partnership with the city of Somerset. So they help fund her salary. So she works part-time in Somerset and then helps throughout Sturgis and the rest of Meade County and whatever I need her help with. Thank you. Oh, school must be late or something tomorrow. So anyway, so she's been doing a really great job, and it's been really great to have additional staff because, as I mentioned, we serve Meade County and all the communities. That was a lot of work for 1 person to take on, and so it's been quite a blessing to have her on our staff and helping me work through our projects. And her primary role is visiting with businesses and working with our business retention and expansion program. So she's primarily out there in the businesses talking to them about what's going well. Is there anything that they need help with? And just wherever, connecting them with the resources that they might need so they can succeed. Another one of our projects I've talked about a number of times is our newest building in the Sturgis Industrial Park, and we were able to complete that in the summer of 2024. There are 4 units. It's a 6,400 square foot building with 4 units. It's basically a large shop with a small office and a bathroom. Currently, we have 3 of those units occupied. I still have 1 available for lease, and last week I just signed a lease for a brand new business that's opening in the park, and it's new to Sturgis. So it's an equipment rental company, so they will have dump trailers and bobcats and different things like that available for the residents to rent from them, and that's something we don't have, so I was pretty excited to see them come to me looking for space. So I believe there'll be more information coming out. They're not quite ready to roll yet, but I think towards the end of the month and sometime in March. We continue to work on Exit 32, the vacant property next to Scooptown Car Wash that we own. We've kind of identified that as a priority, that we'd really like to see something happen on that property, and we do have some interest. So hopefully coming up maybe towards middle to end of the year, hopefully we'll see something happen, and I can share some good news about a potential new business on that property. But right now, last year we had the deed restrictions removed, and so that made everything free and clear for us to be able to sell the property for whatever. In the past, we couldn't do anything food service related. There was a whole list of things that we couldn't do on that property, so it really limited our ability to sell it. Last year we did quite a bit with housing. So we started off the year with the results of a housing study. And there's a lot of information in here, so I won't read through all of it. But I did include the executive, a very shortened version of the executive summary from the housing study, just to kind of remind everybody where we're at with housing in Sturgis. You know, our population continues to grow, but our housing stock remains limited, especially on the multifamily side. Residential construction, we continue to see that. We're also not really seeing any subsidized housing available, which could potentially be a challenge. It is a challenge because our median household income is $49,564. So that kind of makes it difficult for people in that income range to be able to afford housing in our community when we're only seeing single family housing growth, and those homes are anywhere, the minimum there is $350,000 and higher. So that's a challenge that we're looking at. Future projections include that we should be producing 18 to 25 new owner-occupied homes on an annual basis, and that includes all levels of homes, so starter homes, mid-level, senior housing, and then attached units, which are duplex or twin homes. The housing study did identify that the senior population prefers those attached units. So that's another area in addition to what we would think as senior housing, like an assisted living or an independent living facility, which we worked on in years prior. And then in addition to that, we should be producing 12 to 16 affordable rental units on an annual basis. There is a pent-up demand in our community for that. And that goes across even the higher income level people. There are some people in the community who want a higher level income apartment with some other amenities, as well as mid-level and subsidized housing. So we're going to continue to work on housing initiatives. One announcement we made last year, in the summer, there was a groundbreaking for the Highlands at Norman Ranch in the Somerset community, and phase 1 of that development is approximately 100 homes. So they're continuing to develop that property and hoping to see some homes come out of that in 2025. So that's good news for Somerset and their growth in their community. Another housing initiative that took place in 2024, the Black Hills Area Community Foundation, along with Senator Round's office and the Ellsworth Development Authority, received a $30 million federal award from the federal government, and that money is going to support affordable housing in the Black Hills. So what the Black Hills Area Community Foundation did was contact various communities around the Black Hills about starting housing trust funds. There is one in Rapid that's been pretty successful, so they're modeling the other housing trust funds after what they're doing in Rapid, and we've created one in Sturgis, so SEDC helped spearhead that. We've created an advisory board, and the list of advisory board members is there in the packet. And what's going to happen there, we have an operating agreement officially signed and approved through the Community Foundation. And once the funds are allocated from the federal government, which we don't know when that will be, we will be able to accept applications that we can then use as revolving loan funds to help build affordable housing opportunities in Sturgis. The next one is a map of housing projects coming forth in the near future. It needs to be updated a little bit, but as you can see, the Avalanche Road housing development area is still kind of in the works, as well as the Davenport Ranch. They're still building homes on that property. A couple other projects we did in 2024, we did surveys of the SEDC membership as well as the community of Somerset. And both of those survey results, the results of the survey didn't really give us anything unexpected. Primarily, everyone enjoys living in the community that they live in, but we primarily face the same challenges, is that shopping local is difficult, healthcare is adequate, and daycare is a challenge as well, which we know. So it was nice to have some feedback there from our membership as well as the Somerset community. This always helps us to work through our strategic planning and see what initiatives we need to focus on in the coming year. In my annual report, I always include information about the Downtown Sturgis Foundation because I sit on that board as a volunteer member as well as other people from the community, and we do different initiatives in the downtown Sturgis area, like the Come In We're Open signs. The Sturgis Art Walk is a big project of ours, so that will be, the unveiling of the new rotating sculptures will be, I believe it's June 7th, along with the Chambers Arts Festival. So join us downtown to see the new sculptures. We get to pick those out every year about the end of December, and they've already been chosen, and I think they're another good round for next year. In addition to that, we do the Downtown Holiday Giveaway, and I just want to note that as part of the giveaway, this doesn't encompass every business in the downtown area, more so the ones on the retail and food service side. We had 38 participate. So a lot of times we hear that there's no place to shop and nobody goes downtown, but right on that list is 38 businesses that are open year-round in our community that serve our residents. So and there's quite a variety, and they're all great businesses. So stop in if you haven't had a chance to visit one of them. And we're getting near the end. So one other thing I wanted to mention, there is a website called allsturgisevents.com. SEDC didn't financially support this project, but I was on the committee that helped bring it together, along with the Chamber, the City of Sturgis, and then the Downtown Sturgis Foundation. So it's a platform that we created for the community and residents to go to submit events that are happening within Sturgis and 5 miles around, and as well as our residents can go there to find out what's happening. So if you're bored on a Saturday and you're looking for something to do, you can check out this calendar and see if there's anything you would like to participate in. And I think I'm coming about to the end. So SEDC, we set our priorities for 2025 back in November. And we utilize a tool called the Thriving Community Blueprint. So I wanted to share a little bit about what this looks like. And I know some of you have heard me talk about this, but at the bottom of the page is the actual blueprint. And what that shows is basically a pyramid of what a thriving community should look like. And so as most things in a pyramid, you want to make sure that the items at the base of your pyramid are being worked on and successful in order to help fuel what's happening at the top. And what's happening at the top is economic development. So the items on the bottom are your foundation, which is community development, and those items provide provide the base for economic development at the top, and the new business attraction, existing business development, and entrepreneur support are what provide the tax dollars in order to support the base of the foundation. So what we're going to do as an organization in 2025 is focus on new business attraction, entrepreneur support, housing, infrastructure, and storytelling and marketing. And those are the blocks that we're going to kind of work on. And we did identify an additional sixth one that's not in the pyramid, that's community advocacy, just to make sure that we are sharing what's happening in our community as well as our organization to our residents. Lastly, our annual meeting is coming up on March 25th, 2025 at the Armory, and you all should have received a newsletter today, and there's a link to RSVP to that, so please attend if you are able. And I think that's all I have to share, so if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but that is our annual report for 2024.
Amanda, would you introduce your young secretary?
Oh my goodness. I tried to get her to sit up here with me, but come here. Oh, she's mortified. So I brought my daughter with. Her name is Kennedy. She is in 4th grade. And I tried to get her to do a little public speaking today, but she's not going to participate. Yes, you're welcome.
Good work, Amanda.
you.
Surprising how many things are moving in our community. 91 new residents over the last several years. That's a plus. I know this was a 24 report, but here in Sturgis, we had the opportunity today to witness the first new Harley-Davidson motorcycle sale in our community as Sturgis Harley-Davidson became a new motorcycle dealer. So things are happening in the community. That'll bring additional people and positions as they have a service department and sales department and all of those connected actions. So excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And I just wanted to say one other thing. I had the opportunity to present to the Leadership Sturgis class today, and I mentioned to them that a lot of what we do is behind the scenes and nobody really sees it until it comes through. But I shared with them that a lot of things that they're concerned with or they want to see in the community, it's being worked on. It's just that it takes time before it comes to fruition. So keep that in mind and I know that's the same on the city side. We're all trying to work to better the community and it just takes time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, possibly Aaron was going to address a piece, but we're going to be working with SEDC in 2025 and in some different ways. I guess, Aaron, maybe you can address some of that.
Well, before I go there, I was just going to make one comment, and this is something that you and I have talked about, and more for the, I guess, for the council, is that when you look at that pyramid at the bottom, one of those is public policy. And, we're going through the recodification right now of all our ordinances, and we're kind of getting them updated, into, modern times. But part of that is, and that we discussed was, when it comes down to public policy, our stuff is relatively dated, particularly when it comes down to setting the conditions for economic development. And I think I've heard you say that, Councilor Blakeman, about, our role here as a government entity is to kind of set the conditions. And that foundation is really kind of setting the foundations. But one of the things I asked Amanda that maybe SEDC could help us with is to have an understanding of our particular ordinances, things that might hinder economic development or housing development and those type of things. And so based on their expertise and their analysis of those ordinances, provide us some feedback as we start working through our recodification and updating our ordinances. We can incorporate those discussions into that whole process to make sure that we are setting the conditions, for that economic development. So just something I know we want to talk about and just wanted to get you guys up to speed on. The part that the mayor was talking about is in our contract. There's 3 things that we're working with SEDC, and help me, Amanda, I haven't got it in front of me, but the first one is basically to help us out with as we look at development in our community. And we have a process, but they can sometimes be a point of service to help those developers work through our systems, working with our planner, our process in here to be able to make that streamlined. I won't say streamline is the right word, but to make sure that we're doing it effectively and quickly to be able to be responsive to those developers who are trying to meet some of these objectives that Amanda talked about, talks about owner, 18 of them a year, rental 16 a year, whatever those numbers were. So she's going to be helping us out with that. A second one is on TIFs, is to be able to help us with as we look at and manage TIFs. We have had some information that we've built based on some insights of SEDC and Amanda specifically. There are other communities out there that really have some pretty well-developed, successful TIF type programs. And so those would be something that we can incorporate into our own processes to be able to learn from some of those that have done this successfully as we kind of inculcate that into our processes and how we're trying to do that better. And then the third one is helping us out with the comprehensive plan and helping, we've had some, I've had some discussions. We've already have had some, I think, was it Black Hills? What was the name of that?
Council local governments.
Right. And there's some other options out there also. And, Amanda has a tons of experience in this too. And so, kind of point us in the right direction, but also can be a resource in helping us as we facilitate those conversations with our residents as we start to look at what our current environment is and then what we want our future to look like. And so those are the things that we're kind of partnering with SEDC. Did I capture essentially the three that we talked
Yep.
about?
I think that sounds good.
So thank you, Amanda and SEDC. You guys are great partners, and absolutely it'd be difficult to achieve the outcomes that we're trying to do without your guys' help and assistance.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your support of what we're trying to do here in Sturgis as well as throughout Meade County.
Thank you, Amanda.
Sleep in tomorrow, 2-hour late start.
As she leaves, I might mention, she mentioned Leadership Sturgis, and Wendy's here tonight as a member of that organization, and I'm glad to have you. And Samuel, thanks for coming. And I missed Ty. Thank you, Ty.
All right, well, continuing on our agenda, item 6.2 is 2024 financial backlog. Aaron? Ann?
Yeah, before I go into this report, I just wanted to recognize a couple of our law enforcement officers. The first one being Sergeant Dylan Cisco. Last Tuesday, he was awarded the Law Enforcement of the Year by VFW Post 33. This award is given annually to a well-rounded law enforcement officer who has exceeded the duty requirements expected of his or her position and has demonstrated a distinct pattern of community service coupled with professional achievement. I had the opportunity to attend that. Obviously Sergeant Cisco was really appreciative of that being recognized, and you can tell by his demeanor, what a professional person who's really served our community. The second one I would like to recognize is Patrol Officer Tanner Weaver. Tanner is going to be moving on, looking for other opportunities in his career. And Tanner has served the city of Sturgis faithfully for the last 6 years and has been a wonderful patrol officer. He's a person that is from Sturgis. He graduated in 2014, went to college, wanted to go into law enforcement, wants to make a difference and help people, and relatively quickly got with our chief, Jody Vanderwater, and got into law enforcement. Has been serving us for the last 6 years. So I just want to thank Tanner for what he's done. He's worked night shifts, day shifts. He's done all the rallies, all the things that you're going to that you see in law enforcement, in the good part of our society, and also not always the best part of our society. And again, I just want to thank Tanner for his faithful service to our residents and our community. Okay, on to our financial report. This is, when I first got on the position here, just about 5 weeks ago, we were talking about our financial situation, and we've been working pretty hard, and I should say more. Ann and Jen, and Joanne, and Robin really been working hard to be able to solve this. And so, working with Ann and her team, we kind of went through and first have understood what the problem is, came up with some options, and then a plan to be able to have our backlog complete while we're still doing current operations by the end of March. And so if you look at the first part, just the background, I'll just kind of highlight a few things. We've had a lot of turnover in the last 18 months. Just in the last 12 months, we've had 3 financial directors. Not to mention we've had 3 mayors also at the same time, maybe more. And so there's been a lot of turnover, not only with the director position, but we've also within our finance department. I think with this, I thought what's interesting is if you look at our 2023, our legislative audit findings, and if you look at findings 3, 4, and 5, those things all kind of deal with reconciliations. Again, this is not, I was on council when all this has happened. We all have a part to play in where we're at right now, and we all have a part to play in getting us out of this. This is not any one person. This was a team effort that got us here, and this will be a team effort that gets us out of this situation. But I thought it was interesting that we've been dealing with these challenges now for about the last 18 months. And that's what Ann and her team is dealing with at the moment. So when you look at what is the problem that we have, it's the challenge is we're trying to execute 2025 and provide you the information that you require to be able to stay on top of things and make good decisions. And then part of that, there are requirements that are also state law that we need to be able not just to provide to the council, but to the public. And so we have to work on staying on top of 2025 actions too. But again, we're still working on some backlog. And those are specifically, if you look at 2023, there's a year-end adjustments. This is something that Casey Peterson has looked at. They provide us journal entries. So all we have to do now is take those journal entries and input that into our financial module, Cassell, and complete that. The 24 actions, we also got from Casey Peterson the final expenditure for 2024. And we do have those journal entries, and those also need to be inputted into Cassell. Probably the two that are the most challenging, that will take the most time, is doing the reconciliation for our credit cards and also for our ACHs. ACHs, what's that? That's basically automatic.
Those are, yes, they're automatic deposits into the account is what they are.
And so we have all the information. Now we have to compile that probably into journal entries and then input that into Cassell. And so that's been the challenge, is as Ann and her team is trying to take care of the backlog, we're still inundating with all the stuff that's going on right now. And so we kind of come up with a plan that allows us to kind of compartmentalize our time. And there will be times where we're focusing in on current operations, and there'll be times where we're kind of focusing in on the backlog and the past things. If you go into the next page, those are the options that we looked at. We looked at essentially 4 of them. One was just basically during the week, Ann and Joanne specifically will probably shut their door, turn off the phone, and they'll just focus in on working on the backlog. And that's a part of the week. Option 2 is basically modifying that, but moving it into the weekend. Maybe for like Joanne, would work Tuesday through Saturday. So she'll still work her 40 hours, but one day will be on a Saturday. And on Saturday, our office is closed, and that's a great time to really get after some of those backlog stuff without being interrupted with normal business things that are going on. And then number 3 was looking at overtime. We do have $3,200 in the finance department that we could use. Right now, we're not necessarily expecting to use that, but we did keep it open, and I'll show you that on the next page. And then the 4th option was always to bring more personnel. Part of that was also when we hired Casey Peterson. And Casey Peterson did provide us information that's going to shorten the timeline for Ann and her team to be able to complete that backlog. The challenge with bringing personnel, though, is that we have to take time to train them on those tasks. You know, I've already offered up my services. I think Ann has probably just kind of looked at me like, well, we could probably do better than you, Aaron. But essentially, we do feel that with the 4 people we have, if we have this plan, there'll be times we're going to focus in on 25, and there'll be times we're going to focus in on the backlog. And so essentially, the option we took was number 5, which is the combo. We're really going to focus in on option 1 and 2. So we're basically going to compartmentalize our time during the week, but we're also going to spend some time on the weekend. And then if we need to, we'll go into some overtime. If you look at February, the key thing for us is next week. We have 3 representatives from Cassell that are from Provo, Utah. They'll be flying out on the 24th, and they'll be spending the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th with us, and then leave on the 28th. And so this is our opportunity, not with just our finance department, but others within our full-time force that use Cassell, because we can also use that for individual inputs for leaves and pay and that type of stuff. There's a lot that Cassell does, and right now we're using a portion of what that capability is. There's some that we're paying for right now that we don't use as much, that we're going to try to leverage and use those more. And there are some modules that we don't pay for that we're not using, but at some point, we'll probably look at how we can incorporate that particular program to be able to help us as we do services across the municipality. One thing I've been impressed with is that Ann has a good working relationship with them, and it seems like every time you're reaching out to them, they're pretty responsive. They seem to really care about their customers, and that matters. Product that we have people out there that are backing up, their program and helping us, not just coming out with the training, but when we have specific questions, they're always available to help us out. So essentially, when we look at February, it's all about getting the training, because some of those tasks that we have the journal entries in, we need to now input that into Cassell, and that is their area where we need some assistance. And that training that comes up next week is designed to be able to provide that information. So as we get into March and execute this plan, if you can scroll up, please, we'll be able to get after on taking care of that backlog at the same time that we're still trying to continue maintaining, current operations with 2025. If you look at those are hours in the day, those like on Thursday the 6th when we begin, part of that is we have some other activities going on early that week that's going to take their time. So we're going to be starting on the 6th. And then those 7 hours, those are times where Ann and Joanne will lock their door essentially, and focusing on the backlog. And Jen Bush and Robin Croth will be working, basically working current operations, answering the phone as people come to the counter desk, provide customer service to them, and kind of keep them keep those things going and operating. And then on Saturday, the 18th, you can see we have 16 hours. That's where Ann and Joanne are going to be working, focused on just working on the backlog. And then you can see the rest of it. We did have on the 15th, depending on how we do that first 2 weeks, we feel like we've had a conservative, we looked at this, it's going to take us about 90 hours to take care of the backlog. We feel that's conservative, but just in case, we have some additional time here if we need to reconsider and to have, do some more additional. And at that point, we might start using some of the overtime. So you have 16 hours on the 15th. You have that whole last week. If we have to, we can use that also. If we do this, if this works the way we want it to work, we'll be done by the 22nd. And we like that because then we have a legal and finance on the 24th. We can socialize this with the legal and finance committee. And then we could probably provide a report that first meeting in April. If not, if we're working towards the end of March, then that second meeting in April that we could provide a more clear picture of where we sit. So again, really, this is all about, with limited resources and time, is to be able to kind of come up with a plan that allows us to spend time where we can just focus in on today, and then there's times where we just shut that off and focus in on the backlog tomorrow. I don't know if I've been in positions where sometimes I've had so much that's going on that you sometimes can get paralyzed a little bit, right? Where do you begin? And that's a difficult thing to do when you have so much input coming into you in terms of things that people want done, the council wants done, I want done, the other department heads, because there's a relationship here on what the finance department does and how it impacts other departments. And so there's a lot of requirements on them to be able to respond and provide information. So we just need to be able to compartmentalize that time off a little bit so we can get after those backlogs. So, Ann, I don't know if there's anything that you want to.
I think once we get that training done, things are going to go fast. I think we'll get numbers in and we'll get to our goal.
Yeah, so I feel pretty fortunate to work with a great team. I would tell you, Ann's been a breath of fresh air. Thank you, Ann. She's always wants to get things accomplished, always has a great attitude, and has really been providing effective leadership to the rest of the team on how they work together to get this accomplished. Any other questions? I'll go on to some other topics unless any questions from the council or the mayor.
Well, I guess good work, Aaron. That's what we've been hoping to see for a while, and this lays it out for us. One note, Cassell is our system of record, and a lot of our staff haven't had a chance to touch every piece of it, and so that's why this training is going to be so important to make sure that we capitalize on the power of the software that the city's made an investment in. I'm happy to see us solve our reconciliation. And Aaron, I guess could you kind of, or Ann, touch a little bit on what reconciliation means for us?
What we need to do is make sure that everything that has hit the bank is hitting the accounting system, and of course everything has to balance. When you're that far behind, it's a challenge. If you're off a little bit, then you don't know where you got to start to dig, but you got to dig till you get it figured out. And then once you get through that first month, it should go a little bit quicker. But you just have to make sure everything balances. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, nice. Of note is that the city has several accounts, or if you will, several buckets of money that feed out of our single checking account, if you will, and making sure that the funds for our surcharges for utility accounts, for our enterprise funds, whether it be liquor or ambulance or sanitation or water, sewer, those things, they're all in the right location. And once we're done, we'll have a complete picture of the city's financial situation. I mean, it's easy to account for the monies we're spending on our budget, but this is the piece that's going to tell us the other side of the ledger, if you will.
And then just continue on, obviously this has been the glass ball that we've had, right? In terms of, you can't drop this one because we need to know what our financial picture is, and to have, as the mayor was pointed out, kind of an understanding. So as we move forward in the things that we need to do, you need to, just like any individual, you need to know what's in all your accounts. You need to know what you have in the bank account, and you also have to know what your expenses are, and you need to know what your revenue is. And this is helping us get a clean picture of that. One of the things that, as we've been doing the planning and discussing our finance situation, we've also been looking at the rally that's coming up here, the 85th rally in August. I've had the opportunity to sit down with all the department heads and some other stakeholders. We've sat down and kind of brainstormed, kind of looking at the events that we typically do, all the activities that are involved, and how that impacts the full-time force here for City of Sturgis. I've had an opportunity to go through Tammy Evans. She had a lot of spreadsheets that kind of details all the coordinations and all the actions that have been going on, throughout the year as you get ready to execute that particular event. As we move into March, our focus will, as the finance office is closed off in their rooms, focusing on some of these backlogs, we'll also still be working on preparing for the rally. I've had opportunities to visit with some of you. I've talked with the mayor. At the end of the day, there's a lot of activities that we typically do during the rally. And we, as a staff, have made some recommendations that there's a couple of those events, 3 or 4 of those events, that we recommend that we should do. Part of it's contractual based on some of the sponsorships. Part of it's just because it's the right thing to do, is to be able to run a good event. And so we'll probably be doing less than what we've done in the past, but the things we're going to do, we want to do very well. We still have all the law enforcement activities that are going to go on. I know I've talked with Chief Vanderwater. We got some challenges there that we need to get wrapped around in terms of, at the end of the day, it's about, having a sufficient compensation and have people to come in to be able to augment our law enforcement, so we have a sufficient number of people that are trained in law enforcement to ensure public safety of the people that are attending and also the people that live here in town. And so we need to look at some of that. Obviously we got, Chief's been doing this for a long time. I've been to this rodeo quite a few times, so I feel pretty confident in terms of, of executing this and doing this successfully and maintaining public safety. But there are some things that Jody's brought up that we need to look at, and that's what we'll be looking at here starting in March also. Public Works, Rick and his team, they've been doing this for quite some time. They probably could do it without really thinking much about it. They understand what their battle rhythm is. They know what the requirements are, when they have to start, when they're doing their activities. But we'll get a better understanding of that so we can paint the picture not only to you but the public. And then it comes down to the finance side of it. All the vendors, the licensing, all the financial aspects of it, because we increased the number of vendors, during that time frame. So there's a lot in those areas, but I feel pretty confident in those normal municipality actions because we got competent, capable, experienced people that have an understanding of this. Now it's just bringing all the other stuff in, like doing the events, doing an opening ceremony, the military appreciation, the marriage ride, possibly the Chiefs ride. We do have some bands that we put down at Harley Point. In the past, we kind of averaged 4 a day. We'll probably do less than that, but we'll still have a presence down there. Some of that is contractual, but part of that is just providing a good experience. So those are the things that we've been working on in terms of preparing for the rally. You know, again, we've just kind of touched the surface. More than anything, it's probably bringing me up to speed and have an appreciation for that event and what those challenges and opportunities are. Now it's be able to start to move in a direction with some decisions and start actually putting things together. One of the opportunities that we have probably right out of the gate is just getting everybody up to speed that we are actually having a rally. There is talk going out, not obviously in the city of Sturgis, but people that are interested in coming into the community, people, the sponsors and stuff is the Sturgis even having a rally? Because it's been kind of, we don't have the same and much chatter that we have had in the past. And yes, absolutely, we're having a rally. Even if we didn't want a rally, they're going to come anyway. And we need to set things up to be successful on that. And so as we move into March, we'll continue dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and I'll probably be working back with the mayor. I know that one of the things we're talking about is some of the assignments for those committees. We have the Rally and Events Committee. That's an important committee to help us shape this. Not to make decisions, but to shape it, to be able to provide recommendations back to the council as you guys, once we get to those points, we're going to be deliberating that. You have people that are on the council that have that awareness and can be able to communicate that. So I have one last topic, but before that, Mr. Mayor, do you want anything else on the rally that you want to discuss?
No, that, good coverage on that, Aaron. Thank you.
Anybody else from the council at all, or any questions? I've had a couple, I've talked with Councilor Thompson. I've had an opportunity to talk with Tony a little bit, so. Okay, moving on. The last one is House Bill 1043. It's an ambulance, it's a bill, House bill for making ambulance services an essential service. Working with Chief Vanderwater and Sean, our ambulance director, do we want to support that bill? Do we want to put a letter of support, for that bill? It's kind of controversial. I mean, the Municipality League right now and a lot of other communities don't support this. And it's not that they don't think the services are essential. What they don't support is that if you make it essential services, then there's a requirement then, just like when you're doing law enforcement and everything else, that now those municipalities, those communities have to some fund those services through a tax district or however that would look. For us, my recommendation is to support it right now, because Sturgis, we do have an ambulance service, well-developed service, and we provide service outside the boundaries of the city of Sturgis. And we do have contracts with a lot of those parties, but those contracts don't necessarily pay for the actual cost. So at the end of the day, you end up having residents from Sturgis that have to pay the difference to be able to provide that service. And again, we are working aggressively to change that with our contracts to be able to have them pay for themselves. I know this has been a special project and of emphasis for our mayor. But this bill would create that essential services that would allow us to be able to maybe not just fund the ambulance, but to be able to fully fund it, to be able to provide the services that we are right now. So with that, I'll kind of leave it up to you. And if you guys want to have any discussions on it in terms of having a letter of support, I've asked Sean to draft a letter. She's working with some interested parties that have that kind of language. We can get it, we can shape it. But if we chose not to, that's fine. I just wanted to get ahead of that because that's something that they'll be making decisions on within the next, Chief, is it the next couple of weeks? Is it into this week? So it's coming up pretty quickly.
Sean had provided a number of legislators, and I wrote to all that I knew. I got one response, positive, from Mary Fitzgerald. I got two that just said, thank you, I got it. But I didn't hear back from anyone else, so I assume that there's unwillingness to accept that, and I still don't understand it, but it has come back, it's money, there's no question.
I would engage the council to support that. It is by the end of the week. We've been providing these services within our community and outside our community. If we remember back maybe 6 years ago now, we had a situation where the city, under different leadership, said that we weren't going to provide services east of our community, and they ended up solving that through through an ambulance district, and, that's worked well. We've got a situation west of our community where we provide ambulance services up into the Boulder Canyon area. And Lawrence County has not contributed necessarily to the full funding of that, which again, as Mr. Jordan stated, it's the city of Sturgis residents that end up carrying that, even though those are our friends, our family members, those sorts of things. And so I think it's important that we support this this legislation. Would anyone be willing to help facilitate that?
What are you asking?
Well, I guess
Facilitate.
I'd like to see us approve sending, I mean, we don't have a draft of a letter, but it's pretty simple that we support House Bill 1043. And
Where does the money come from if this goes through? Where's the financing then?
well, our financing comes from within, so there's no change for us.
Well, it's still gonna be tax dollars though. Possibly then, is that what?
Well, we wouldn't be tax dollars for anything outside of our city limits. I mean, we would work through the processes. Honestly, it would be up to those that we're helping serve to solve the shortfall.
Mark, I believe that the issue comes back to not so much Sturgis, because we're already doing that, but there's as I understand, the ambulance services have decreased in communities across the state. Is that correct? And as a result of that, there's a lot of communities that if you were to ask the citizens, is there an ambulance available to you when you dial 911, they would almost all say yes. And yet the answer in most cases is no. An ambulance has to come from another city, and it does come back to tax dollars, but at some point, we have to make a decision on that, I guess.
Right, and maybe Jody wants to address, but we're asking these outside areas to make sure they're paying their share, so they're not. Is that gonna help our tax deal, or do we turn around and do our taxes end up going up a little bit, or are we spending city dollars down the road?
Well, Mark, I think our response area is dictated by our legislative branch, by the council. And our primary responsibility at this point is the city limits of Sturgis. Through contracts, we have expanded that both east and west. And the expansion east has been adequate, I think. I mean, we're covering our expenses and we're not overburdening those citizens. And
Not going west.
Right.
but not going west,
I support our ambulance, don't get me wrong. I really support our ambulance. I just don't wanna see all of a sudden, taxes are a big deal. They're pushing a lot of people. We're making other areas form tax districts and all that, and I don't want down the road to see, well, we helped establish this, but all of a sudden now we gotta raise their taxes because it costs us a little more down the road. It shouldn't. But I want us to make sure we look at that before we support this completely, fully too. If that makes sense.
So if I could throw a couple, my 2 cents in here, visiting with Sean, just kind of give you guys an update. What they're proposing, if I understand correctly, is every citation that's written in the state of South Dakota or under the municipalities, there will be a portion of that fine that will go towards the ambulance. Right now, there's a good portion of our fines go towards schools, court-appointed attorney fees, and then some of them go back to the communities that they're written in. So that's kind of what it's going to do. Is it a fix-all? Probably not, but it's going to be it's going to give an additional income for our ambulance services. And as you know, they are enterprise funds. They are dropping like flies. We've had out east, we had Indian was a volunteer branch. They shut down. I believe we with the help of Sean, our director, she was able to get it kind of revamped and get some people trained out there, so they have a response now. But there's at least 7 more in the area that are closing. Some of these are private entities. Spearfish is a private entity. Deadwood's run by Monument. Sturgis is, of course, run by the city. Rapid City's run by the city. But yes, so as far as taxes, it's going to this bill here, I believe, Mark, is going to be coming off of just citations. It's going to be part of the fine. So I believe I want to say $5. Don't quote me on it.
Okay, thank you.
It was $5. I don't remember exactly if that was all municipalities or if that was the state. And again, that may not necessarily cover all the expenses. The real question is ambulance service essential? Right now, it's not by law. And in the city of Sturgis right now is providing a lot of service outside our own boundaries at a loss. Now, that's not a bad thing because we are helping our neighbors, we are helping our friends, but it's not something that's necessarily sustainable for us. You know, as we've just talked about our financial, getting a clear picture of that, but we even know once we get a clear picture, we know that there's a lot more needs of our community that exceeds what we have in terms of revenue available to take care of those needs, short-term, midterm. And particularly as we look at what's going on nationally in the state, you know, some of those funds that we typically had received in the past as a match, you know, that may or may not necessarily be the same environment that we're going to have in the future. But at the end of the day, I mean, again, is essential services. I think if you would talk to most people, I think the answer would be yes. If I call the ambulance, I would expect one to show up and, you know, and to take my loved one or friend or somebody to the hospital. But again, right now, it's not essential services. It would probably have more of an impact. It probably would lessen the requirement on us a little bit because it would require these other municipalities and other government entities to provide that service. Now, to provide that service, they would have to determine how they're going to spend, how they're going to fund that service. Right now, we do fund that service. It is an enterprise fund for us. So it'd probably have a lesser of impact for City of Sturgis, but I can absolutely understand why other communities would be somewhat hesitant to this, even though I think nobody would disagree that it's essential services. It just comes back down to those other municipalities. Can they actually afford to do the things they would have to do if it was defined as essential services?
So it doesn't necessarily change anything for us, for the city, because we're currently funding it. It changes things forces the hand of those who are not.
Correct. Might actually help us.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I would make the recommendation that we send a letter to support House Bill 1043, because I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself. When I dial 911, I hope somebody comes to my door and I don't have to wait for somebody in Spearfish or Rapid City. So that's just my recommendation. I feel that we should definitely put a letter together.
If that was a moment, a vote, I would second it.
I can make it a motion if you want.
I'll take it as that.
Okay.
All those in favor of providing this letter ASAP, as in tomorrow, indicate by stating yes.
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 Those
Jody, that's
opposed?
something she can.
Sean's been actively working on it. I know she was going to hopefully have it done, and I think we have a meeting with Aaron tomorrow. Sean and I do to
Can we
talk.
see that? Get an email of that?
Yes, we'll
Okay.
make sure that you guys get sent a copy of it before.
we
We'll probably be going back to, I'm guessing, either the mayor or the city administrator to sign, or both. So it'll probably definitely go with you guys. You guys will get to see a copy of it, definitely.
Thank you.
Is there a draft that we can get for individuals that would like to email that to the legislator?
Yes, I believe so, actually. I think Sean sent you guys all an email here last week about some with some resources in there. So I would encourage you to go back, look through your emails from Sean last week, and feel free to share that with anybody you know. I know she would appreciate it. She's been pretty vocal about this for years and passionate about it with the hopes of getting something like this going so that she can continue to sustain our departments up here with the ambulance, you know. One of the things I think that's probably a lot of people don't realize is like it was mentioned here, if you call 911, they expect you to show up, and Sean and her crew will show up, but there's more and more communities that are lacking that because they don't have the funding to support the ambulance crew. So any way that Sean and her crew can get more funding, I think the better.
Jody, I think just what I've heard since, and you're one of the ones that told me this, and Sean, I started doing just my own questions about to people even in my own ward, and no one understands. Everyone believes it's a right, the same as so many other rights we enjoy as Americans, and they assume when you call 911, you have the right to have an ambulance. And though we say that, the community believes that it's not essential in the sense of the state. That they don't come in. Hayti doesn't have one that goes to their little community, or Florence, or some of those places. I wrote to people when I was in the Senate, the people that I know there, that are now in the Senate. There's people around there that have no idea that they don't have an ambulance service if they want it. And we don't know that, I think. And so it may involve taxes. But it's like your grocery store moves out, and if you live in Newell and you don't have a grocery store and you've got to drive to Rapid City every time you want to buy groceries, that makes a difference. And what do you need to do to keep that? And that's the same thing we have here.
Yes, I would agree with you. It was one of the things that's kind of blew my mind, you know, when I found out fire and police are essential, but in my close workings with Sean over the years to learn they were not essential just kind of blew my mind, and I thought it was probably one of the stupidest laws out there. And I know, like I said, Sean's sitting on some state boards, and her goal for the last few years has been to change that with the intentions of bringing higher quality of service to the citizens and the community surrounding Sturgis as well.
Excellent. Well, hopefully our legislature is able to vote.
We'll have you a letter. You'll get to see it tomorrow for sure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's all I have. Pending your questions.
All right, thank you. Great reports. Anybody have any questions before we move on? All right, continuing on to item 7.1. That's the appointment of Otto Menendez and David Owen to the Sturgis Planning Commission. We're looking for consensus and approval from the council on this appointment. And as we proceed, I also want to point out that we have our committee appointments. Aaron touched on them a little bit during his report, but you know, we've got two new counselors on the team here, and we've got a need in the month of March and April. Again, this is only a 60-day turnaround, and we'll be talking about this again. But if Mark, Alex, and anybody else that's currently on the council is able to have some discussion, provide some input on where we can fit some of these two new counselors in. I do want to point out that we're a body of 7. That means is 4, so we can only have 3 council members on any one of these at a time. So maybe there's some room here for. I mean, we have 3 primary committees. One is made up by ordinance, and that's legal and finance. That's made up of the council president, the vice president, and 1 member at large. That would be Jim right now. But our infrastructure advisory committee and rally and events committees, they've got room for 3. There's some redundancy in there. If someone's willing and able to step aside to let some of this happen with some of these other folks, please let me know. We'll be making those final appointments at our first meeting in March.
also touching on these committees, these are committees that some of them are being rebuilt, if you will, or
Jesse, you're touching on looking at maybe adding some committees. We've talked about an ordinance committee, we've talked about finance committee, public safety's been one that's been
And-
come up.
also, I mean, this won't be just council members on these committees when they're done, correct? I mean,
Well, the goal, and I guess this stretches out a bit, by the time we went through a process of trying to build some public spots on this, we'd already be to the time to turn over.
yeah, I mean, eventually that would be the end goal, though, is to get these rebuilt with members of the council along with members of the community.
My goal right now is to fill the spots with council members. After, depending on how our next election cycle goes, I would like to see some involvement with some members. I mean, our history has shown that a finance committee has been a very positive thing for our community. Public safety committee is a piece that has happened in different versions through time, but it does seem like there's some opportunity here for us to build that back, and there's some room, I think, in the rally and events committee to build some better teammates into that. But again, since we're looking at a short turnaround, that's the goal. But
Yeah, I just wanted to make that clear, that that is on the radar at some point. Obviously, there's other things priorities to deal with right now, along with the fact that it would turn over quickly, but the end goal would be to have these rebuilt with council members and members of the public.
it's going to be the responsibility of those that sit up here in the month of May to see that through.
May I ask, the infrastructure committee, Rick, is that going to be on the 26th, Wednesday still at 7 o'clock? Is Rick back there?
He's back there, but I think, I don't recall the 26th being a meeting date, but
There was an announcement, I thought an announcement came out for the 26th.
No, I mean, typically the mayor would call the meetings. So I'm not aware that an infrastructure committee meeting has been called.
I had that in my mail, but
I don't
I'm
have
new,
it on
I'm
my
new to that,
calendar,
but
so
that's why I asked.
I'm not sure. We'll get it figured out, I guess, and
It was about a specific,
I thought I saw some too, but I don't remember if that was going out for a committee or what. But I do remember something, Jim.
I don't have a meeting on my calendar at all. So
Well, if you guys don't mind, it was the first time I've never give you my 2 cents on something. Go
Real
ahead.
quick, is Jim thinking of the engineer with the water project was going to have a,
the 27th is the Silver Street
I wonder if that's what he-
project meeting that evening.
26th, but that's not, it was under infrastructure, I assumed that was a committee.
That's the 27th, we're having a Silver Street meeting, and I sent that to the current infrastructure committee. That's likely what you're referring to. That's a project update meeting for all the affected landowners. And
Silver Street's part of our North Trunk Line project, and
right,
that street will see some utility improvements and street improvements as part of that. And this meeting is to
Correct.
update those residents on the construction schedule,
Correct.
access to their properties, and
the impacts of the project, correct.
on the
I mean, Silver Street is a total reconstruction, which will be curb and gutter, sidewalks, water, sewer, storm sewer, pavement, so it'll have a large impact.
back to our, if there's no more discussion on that. By the next meeting, I guess, let's provide me some input on where you think that you can serve and how we can how we can fill this out. I mean, obviously, it would be much easier, you know, when we're a council of 8, that means we can have 4. So, you know, that's 4 for a quorum. And so for the next 60 days, we're going to be operating with just 3 in those slots so that we don't break open meeting laws. And we want to make that happen, because in the month of March, we will be having rally discussions. We will be having infrastructure discussions. In fact, Administrator Jordan shared with me that he's already planning to start talking, you know, thinking budget amongst all those other things that he just shared with us today. So, piece of cake.
I pulled up some of these committees earlier, and I guess I just would need to sit down with some of the other councilmen that are on here and figure out which ones they really like and where they need help at to get their schedules aligned. So.
Outstanding. So with that, I am seeking approval to backfill our planning. We had a resignation on planning back in December that we're filling, and of course, Alex, you know, your position was vacated when you became a council member, and I would hope that you would support these 2 people as the appointees.
I would support that.
Appreciate a motion on that.
A motion to approve.
Do you have more to talk?
Okay.
Second.
All right, a first by Alex, second by Jesse to approve the appointments of Otto Menendez and David Owen to the Planning Commission. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion indicate
Are they willing? I mean, did we?
they put in
Oh,
applications.
okay.
Any other questions? Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Okay, continuing on to our consent agenda. We've only got one item on the consent agenda, so I guess we won't be asking anybody if they want to remove anything to have it discussed separately. The only item on the consent agenda is to approve the minutes from the February 3rd, 2025 City Council meeting. Is there any discussion on that, and is somebody willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
First by Mark, second by Jim to approve the consent agenda. Those in favor of approval of consent agenda indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. All right, thank you. Item 9.1 are claims. Anybody have any questions or concerns with the monthly claims, or actually bi-monthly claims? Everyone's quiet?
I have, just as I looked at those, I saw, because we discussed it in committee on the, for the dogs that we had to apprehend or take out of that van over the last rally. We had almost a $3,500 bill to the attorneys in Pierre. Is that a standard? $3,500. Was that a unique situation?
Well, I think it's generally unique that a case of, dogs that were seized that were in poor condition found their way to a Supreme Court case, but that's the situation that we have
So this was to appeal to the Supreme Court.
This was to meet the requirements of the case that as it was working through, and that is sitting right now waiting for a determination by the Supreme Court.
So that wasn't really about a dog. It was about the case before the Supreme Court that cost us the money. About the dogs, of course, but
Correct.
typically we don't have a $3,500 cost for confiscated animals.
We hope that's not a reoccurring thing for sure. Any other questions or concerns? Anybody from the public have a? Bonnie's at our meeting tonight, and I haven't heard a peep out of her, so.
I'll move to approve the claims.
First by Mark,
I'll second.
second by Alex to approve the claims. Any further discussion? Those in favor of approval of the claims indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Claims have been approved unanimously. Takes us to item 10.1. This is consideration to approve a retail on, off-sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license and retail on, off-sale wine and cider license for Les Magnolia. Magnolia Soup Company at 2715 Lozelle, Suite B. Of course, the applicants are well-known to our community and have operated business in our community for many years. Is somebody willing to step up and give a report on this, or are we in good shape?
We're in good shape. Everything's in, everything is ready to go. It's 2 separate licenses. One, well, you've read that off, the on-off for the malt beverage and the South Dakota wine, and then a license for retail on-off sale wine and cider license. And everything looks
But
good.
Cherie came to talk, and I showed her how to use the mic and everything.
Well, we'd like to have her talk.
Or I can just motion to approve. Green light.
Okay. What would you like to know? I'm Cherie Schreiber. I've lived in Sturgis since 1999. I've had several businesses, bar and restaurant business. I have a restaurant and bar in Rapid City as well. And I've been gone 2 years from Sturgis, and I'd like to come back and feed the community.
And we would like to have you back.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Well, with hearing that, I would motion to approve both the malt beverage and the retail wine and cider license.
I enthusiastically second.
All right, we've got a first by Tony to approve both licenses, a second by Jim to approve both licenses. Is there any further discussion?
And I just want to tell you, welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's good to be back. Well, I never really left, but
Outstanding. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion is carried unanimously. Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 11.1, consideration to approve a lease for a new dozer at the Sturgis rubble site. This is a thing that we weren't expecting to have in 2025, but here we are.
Evening, Mayor, members of the council. First, I'd like to provide you a little bit of background for those in the audience and for those watching on social media. The city of Sturgis owns and operates a Type 2A restricted use solid waste facility that is permitted through the state of South Dakota Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources, and we're permitted to accept 149,999 tons of waste per year. This does differ from a municipal landfill. The only municipal landfills that are in this area are in Belle Fourche and Rapid City. And the main difference is that they're permitted to accept household waste and commercial solid waste. Our restricted use site may accept only construction and demolition debris for burial. That includes some furniture, carpeting, and similar waste for burial. Trees, branches, and untreated wood may be accepted for burning or burial, and yard waste may be accepted for composting. White goods and scrap metal can be accepted for temporary storage and recycling. As a condition of our permit, we're required to apply a minimum of 6 inches of cover to the disposal areas each day that the facility is open, or apply an approved alternative daily cover material. This helps to control odors, blowing litter, prevent fires, and reduce scavenging. The dozer is primarily used at our facility to push and spread that waste material, effectively distributing it across the working face of the landfill and compacting the material before pushing the soil cover over the debris areas. In addition, it is also used to shape the existing waste cells, contour the ground to control runoff, and to provide fire control. Currently, the city owns and operates a 2003 Dresta TD 25H dozer. Dresta is headquartered in Poland, and the TD 25H model is no longer being serviced, so parts and availability of those parts are becoming harder and harder to source, and in some cases impossible to find. Most recently, we started to experience problems with the transmission of the dozer, where the reverse gears are failing and we only have forward movement. Our fleet division did try to source out the parts needed to rebuild the transmission and the final drive, and most of the parts that were needed to do this are no longer being manufactured, supported, or available. Our local dealer for the Dresta is Diesel Machinery Incorporated in Rapid City. However, they indicated this model is no longer supported and there were no parts available anywhere in the USA. From that, we started to evaluate what our options would be, and we looked into both lease versus purchase options, and we looked at Caterpillar, John Deere, and Komatsu, which all have dealers located in Rapid City. Prices range for comparable models from $650,000 up to $960,000. In addition, we also evaluated low-hour used versus new and warranties from each of the manufacturers, and you have that as a part of the package, that evaluation. After considering price, warranty, and availability, the staff is requesting that the council authorize the actual purchase, not a lease, of a 2025 John Deere 950P dozer using a Sourcewell contract number 011723-JDC for a final purchase price of $637,744.13. Using the Sourcewell contract does allow us to save time and money on purchasing by pooling buying power across the board and complies with all state bidding requirements. The City of Sturgis has been a Sourcewell member for at least 12 years. I signed us up. Actually, it used to be the National Joint Powers Association, the NJPA, and then they changed to Sourcewell, and we have bought several vehicles and pieces of equipment off of this. The state has authorized that as well as a purchasing agreement. What we have to discuss tonight is the available finance and payment options that are up for consideration. This would enable us to own the machine at the end of the term. Some of the other rental, the traditional lease programs, at the end of the lease options, we would turn that machine in. The dozer is likely a piece of equipment that we likely would have for the next 30 plus years. Again, given the hours that we use it, it should last us that long. So the options that we're looking for are the number of years that we want to enter into a payment. Those options that are available to us are 5 years, 6 years, or 7 years. My recommendation would be, I think that given we would keep it for as many years as possible, we should probably go with the 7-year, which would leave us a payment annually of $110,789.13. Currently, we do have $192,050 budgeted in the equipment replacement fund in the reserves for 2025, and also the sanitation. We have earmarked $200,000 that we're escrowing for a garbage truck, and $80,986 dollars in reserves. Again, I think my recommendation for 2025 for that payment would be to use the sanitation reserves and then cover the additional amount out of the $200,000 that we're saving for a garbage truck. And then moving forward, we would have to adjust that so that we're able to purchase that garbage truck in the future. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have on this item.
When do you foresee us needing that garbage truck?
Well, we were scheduled actually in 2024 to buy one. We have those on our equipment replacement. They are every 3 years we get one. We did have one, and actually our newest one was significantly damaged and is out of service. It will be back hopefully by the end of next month, at the end of March, with a whole new cab, completely put back together. So again, I think that does give us a little bit of time. Some of our oldest machines that we're running right now that we would look at replacing are the ones that we are at times using for our recyclables. All of anything that we do take for recyclables, of course, we have to take to Rapid City to the MRF. When we go to Rapid City, we have to go through the scales and we have to be DOT compliant, and that includes any leaks, fluid leaks. So that's kind of where we're at. I feel pretty comfortable where we're at. I think that again, for 2025, we can sure come up with that payment within the sanitation, but moving forward, we're going to have to address that. Part of the equipment replacement fund right now does capture one of the leases on our motor grader, so we actually have a little over $200 and some thousand in our equipment replacement, but we have a $70,000 motor grader lease payment that's coming out of there each year. So that takes that down to the $192,000. But the equipment replacement is everything citywide too. I mean, it's not just equipment. I mean, it's all vehicles. We did have in 2024, we had the couple of the vehicles that got totaled, the old city manager's Equinox. The frame got bent on it and has been totaled out. So we haven't replaced that. So certainly some decisions to be made. I think that I feel pretty comfortable for 2025, but moving forward, it's certainly going to have to be something that is addressed in the budget and the council authorized where those payments will come from.
Rick, how long has our current dozer been used?
It's a 2003, and we bought it brand new, so just 22 years. The first one that we ordered actually fell off of a ship and is sitting at the bottom of the ocean. This was the second one that they sent over for us. We have had a considerable amount of repairs to it. 2 years ago, we completely rebuilt the undercarriage. We were lucky enough to be able to get those parts. But sourcing parts and sourcing people who are qualified to work on it is certainly problematic. The Dresda is not necessarily a common brand around here like you would see Caterpillar or John Deere or Komatsu. When you use one of those name brands, you have more options and availability for parts and service. So using the Sourcewell contract certainly allows us to choose how we want to go. And in this case, that Sourcewell contract was actually the lowest price that was given to us. Even the prices of the leases were more, and then we're limited on the number of hours that we can use the piece of equipment each year. And then again, at the end of the lease term, whether we decide a 5-year lease, a 6-year lease, that piece of equipment goes back to that company. So this really was the most beneficial way of doing it, and we're fortunate enough to see that was, and you can see the discount that we got above and beyond the manufacturers by using that Sourcewell you know, it's $221,000, almost $222,000 discount by using that contract. So
And the Dresta we would put on auction.
we currently have a Dresta and we have a Caterpillar that is 50-some years old. My recommendation would be to auction those off while they're still have some value in it. The Dresta does have a engine that is fairly desirable. It's just a matter of some of the other components you can't get, but the engine is worth some money. Same with the Caterpillar. It's old enough, but it still has some value, so I think we might as well get that out of it. And then that's a good point, Tony. You know, those monies from whatever we would get from them, we don't know what they would be. Those could either be allocated by the council to go back into the equipment replacement fund, or they could go into the reserves of the sanitation.
I see our friends from RDO are in the back row. You wouldn't want them on trade, would you?
No, I'd have to say no.
Yeah, understandable.
When is the lease up on the grader?
The lease, we just started it. This is our second year of it. So it's a 5-year lease with an option to buy at the end. We had originally, we were supposed to get 2 motor graders that we were going to purchase, one in 2024, one in 2025. We ended up leasing the one in 2024. We didn't lease another one in 2025. Hopefully, we're working on some deals with the county that maybe there'll be a piece of equipment that they're looking at getting rid of that we could get, but nothing has been penciled out on that yet.
Well, timing is never great when things like this happen, but it looks like, we've got some options and we can make it happen. Myself, I would be preferable that we continue to finance that out of the enterprise fund as it is, and we preserve the equipment replacement fund, for the rest of the general fund items. RDO has been a trusted partner of the city. I think, our blade is Deere.
I was going to say
Our loader's a Deere, I believe. RDO has, been a community supporter through many of the items that they do through their RDO Foundation. And I think it's a strong move for us to be able to enter into business relationships with trusted partners like them. Again, we have some decisions coming down the road, the surplus of the other items, the potential replacement of the funds in that enterprise fund. So, how we manage that will be part of our 2026 budget process. I guess the only question I'd have, how long are we looking at for delivery on that? Because I talked to the guys up at the Rubble site, and they're making it work in forward only, which.
Not fun.
Right. So we're looking at this would be a new machine that's being built, so we would be looking at middle of June, which March, April, May, or was it was May, wasn't it? Was it June or May?
It was mid to late June.
Yeah, so a few months. Hopefully, we can continue to limp the Dresta along. If not, we've got a backup plan in our pocket where we could do probably a real short-term lease with another machine that RDO has on standby. So I think it would get us out of a bind, but certainly we anticipate being able to continue to use that, but we don't know. It could die tomorrow, or it could make it, another 4 months. We just don't know.
I don't mean to say it, but I wish we had a backup plan for our reverse.
Well, I do like the fact of all of our equipment being under one umbrella of a manufacturer. And with that, I would motion to approve the purchase of the dozer for the landfill.
Second.
under the John Deere contract.
Yes, sir.
How many years?
Sourcewell
Or,
contract.
excuse me, Sourcewell
That's
contract.
for 7 years.
And for 7 years? Do you agree with that?
Second.
We got a first by Tony and a second by Jim to approve the John Deere contract through Sourcewell for a 7-year term, resulting in a $110,789 per year payment. Is there any further discussion?
Would you say the payment again?
$110,789
And 13 cents.
and
How's that
13
budget- How's
cents.
that budgeted? Didn't we have budget, not necessarily for that, but
They had contingency fund in the enterprise.
In the sanitation fund, we have some reserves, and then we had $200,000 that we were escrowing for a new garbage truck. We would anticipate combining those to come up with the payment.
Dana, you had a comment? Yes. Can you come up and speak into the microphone, please?
We can definitely get it approved for the 7-year term like you wanted. If for some reason something changes in between now and delivery of that unit, for some reason you just want to buy it outright or change term or something like that, we can always do that. So just wanted to let you know that it doesn't have to lock into the 7. All of a sudden, here in a month or two, something different happens. You have the ability to change that up until the time of delivery.
Change it to 10?
In case we win the Mega Millions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All right, I'll restate the motion. Motion to approve the Sourcewell contract for the John Deere dozer under a 7-year term, $110,789.13 per year payment. All those in favor of this purchase? Well, hold on, before I call the vote, let me point out that I thought that it required this. I conferred with our attorney, Eric. It takes a 60% vote to make this happen, and that's of the body. So that means we need a unanimous in order for this to pass tonight.
Your roll call on it or just a yea, nay?
You called it, I'll go ahead and roll call it.
Alrighty.
I'm gonna call the question, Tony,
Yes.
Jesse,
yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
and Jim.
Yes.
We're unanimous on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you guys from RDO. Appreciate it.
All right. The last regularly scheduled item today is item 11.2, and that's consideration to approve the agreement between General Drivers and Helpers Union 120 and the City of Sturgis. This is the union contract with our public safety folks. They have approved the contract that was previously approved, or in a similar format as previous approved by the rest of the city staff. Jody, do you have any input on this, or?
I was just planning on going on the background of the report you have there if you had any questions, but it's basically the same thing that was signed here a couple months ago by the regular city staff, and the only other changes other than what they had was that we were bringing the animal control officers and the PD secretary under the police union contract. So other than that, everything's the same across the board for the police union as well as the city staff union.
Thank you, Jody. Anybody from council have questions? No questions? Is there anyone willing to make a motion on this contract?
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved, sorry.
First by Alex, second by Jim to approve the contract with the General Drivers and Helpers Union 120. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed, no. And that motion carried unanimously. We do have a need for executive session for a contract matter. I don't expect any action afterwards. I would entertain the motion to adjourn to exec. We'll go upstairs in the event that somebody wants to stay in the gallery here, and we'll return as quickly as possible. I
I'll
don't
make
think
the
it'll
motion
take long.
to move into executive session.
First by Jim,
I'll second.
second by Mark to adjourn to executive session. Again, no action after, and we're going in for contractual reasons. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
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 Opposed, no. 1 minute. You can watch on here and see when it pops up often.
Jesse, you heard Rick say it was Wednesday.
All right, council has returned from executive session. I would entertain a motion to exit executive session.
I'll move.
Second.
First by Mark, second by Jim to exit executive session. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
We're out of executive session. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn now.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We've got a first by Tony and a couple of seconds. Those in favor of adjournment indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Our meeting is over. Thank you.